सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verses 11 to 20.
यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनम् पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितम् यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानः नैनं पश्यन्त्यचेतसः यदादित्यगतं तेजः जगद्भासयतेऽखिलम् यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधीः सर्वाः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम् सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टः मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यः वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम् द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्माक्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेवमसम्मूढः जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् स सर्वविद्भजति माम् सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत.
We have been studying the 15th chapter, considered to be almost of an Upanishadic level, probably the essence of the Gita, certainly one of its highest thoughts, which you are about to enter. So far, you know what he has said. He has said that I pervade the macrocosm, I pervade the microcosm. from the sun and the moon and all of that. He came down to the individual living beings. In verse 14, he spoke about he has become the Vaishwanara, the fire in the belly. That is what keeps the human being or any being alive. If you lose your capacity, if you lose that hunger, you can't survive. So, and then you have to digest the food with the pranas. So, this is, right down, he's come down to the most fundamental thing and uses food as the most fundamental because it is the only thing that sustains you throughout your life. You get many joys and all during the course of your life, or many you may have achievements or so many other reading books or going for a walk. I don't know, any amount of enjoyments you have in your life, but the one that stays with you from the point of your birth to the point of your death is food. All other senses may sort of not come and go, but reduce their demands, but food is always there. So that's why food, being the most constant, is the one he has used to represent all the other activities that we are involved in. It's also showing us the panchakoshas. So the food sheet, the prana sheet, the mind, the intellect, and the vasanas. So he says, I'm seated in the hearts of all. This is a very, very famous verse. Sarvasya chaham rudi sannivishtaha. I am seated in the heart of all. Now that gives us the impression, gives many people the impression that God is within us. This is not what he is saying. God is not within us. God is the core of our personality, the essence of our personality. It is who we are. So heart is used here in the sense of core. Core not in the sense of essence, like how you say the heart of a problem or the heart of a city. It means the essence of that city or the essence of the problem. So heart here is to be taken as the very essence, the very core of our being. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me, mata, from me. Smriti and apohanam. From me comes memory and loss of memory. Memory is what drives our life. But loss of memory is what keeps us alive. I hope you realize the importance of loss of memory. Imagine if you had to remember in 1973 what you had for lunch. What did you wear? No, Bhavna, sorry, not for you 1973, for you 2010 maybe. What did you eat for lunch on 7th October 2010? We forget 99.9% of everything that happens in our life, which is a good thing. Because how much will your poor brain be overburdened with all this? And also because life is, what should I say? Pretty strong stuff, It's not for the lighthearted. It's pretty strong stuff. Stuff happens here. If you could remember with that intensity whatever you went through, it would be difficult to live. How do women have multiple children? Just think about that. Having gone through one childbirth, why would they go through another? Apohanam. So even when somebody dies, somebody close to you dies, it's quite it hits you. But then slowly, that memory passes away. And that's how you're able to survive. Otherwise, all the battering we get by life, if we keep on remembering it, we simply can't survive. So I am Smriti and I am Apohanam. I am memory and I am memory loss. because it is both of these that enable us to live our lives. We have to remember some things, we have to forget some things. And I'm jnanam, I am knowledge, the capacity to see things as they are. And then he gives this very famous thing: I am that which is to be known by the Vedas. I am the author of the Vedas, and I'm the knower of the Vedas. So I write it, I read it, and I understand it. Then why are you bothering to do all this? What it means is that to the extent one has unfolded the self, to that extent one will be able to understand what these scriptures are talking about. To that extent, when one talks, one will communicate it. So both its communication as well as its comprehension is not really done by the body, mind, intellect, but by their removal. To the extent that your identification with your body, mind, intellect is reduced, to that extent, you will be able to know it. To that extent, you will be able to communicate it. To that extent, you will be able to get to know it. It's a very interesting construct. Vedaischa sarvai ahameva vedyaha vedanta krut veda vide. I am Vedai, Sarvai Vedai, Vedya. I am known by all the Vedas. I am Vedanta Krut. I am the one who's written it. And I'm Vedavit. I'm the knower of the Vedas. So, a very interesting way of saying that only by de identification with the body, mind, intellect, that this knowledge is either known or communicated or understood. So if you noticed, he's covered in the previous verse, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. Here he's done Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandmaya Kosha. Anandmaya Kosha can be represented by Apohanam. Okay, now so far so good. Then we are about to enter.
Just one doubt on this, Janaki ji. Loss of memory you have explained, and since it enables us to live, etc. But loss of knowledge, why? Because knowledge is supposed to be knowledge of the self, probably is talking about. Or
No, there is no
or
loss of knowledge.
it says no memory, knowledge, and their
Oh, I
loss.
see what you mean. Okay. Knowledge loss in the sense of deep sleep. Memory and knowledge is lost. Memory and knowledge represent thoughts. When these thoughts are no longer there, that means you're in Anandmaya Kosha. It means you're in the Vasana state. It's not memory, it's not knowledge loss, as in you knew something and you forgot it. It's knowledge loss in the sense of two things. It's unmanifest, goes into the unmanifest, in which case it'll be vasanas. And the second way you can look at it is your growth is based on knowledge loss.
Okay.
Because so far I know X. When I grow, I'm going to decide that this X is incorrect or limited or something and know something else. So spiritual growth is associated with knowledge loss. You know how we talk about Vedanta being about not gaining knowledge but losing ignorance. So everything you know, you have to sort of unlearn. And the fundamental, I mean, if you want to take it very high, then the fundamental thing you have to lose knowledge about is the reality of this world. I mean, we are so convinced at the moment, right, that this world is real, but to lose this knowledge. So you can take it at the bottom most, which means it goes back into unmanifest, or in the highest, which is in the sense of you have to unlearn everything in today's language.
Okay. Here it's not referring to the knowledge of the self.
No.
This
But
knowledge.
it's looking just the opposite. You learn everything so that you learn about this.
Okay, understood. Yeah, thanks.
In each thing you can just go deeper and deeper, and beyond a point you can't do it in this class. Otherwise, every verse, as it is, we take so long over every verse. If we do it even deeper, then I don't know if we'll ever get past one verse. But when we are doing the courses on the campus, then we're probably able to investigate the matter a little further. You all know, right, that in September, hopefully, we will be able to start the first PG course. Hopefully. Lots of things have to happen if that is to happen. So now we've covered, he says, I am in the heart, means I am the self. Then he's covered Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. He's covered memory, knowledge, and loss, which means Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandmaya Kosha. Anyone is not familiar, I'm just going through this quickly under the belief that you're all familiar with the Panchakoshas. Yes, everyone's familiar, everyone's not familiar. Please stop me and ask, because everyone comes in at different timings, so it's difficult to tell who has. Anyone is not clear about the Panchakoshas, please raise your hand. Chanchal, okay, fine. So, Chanchal, the concept of Panchakoshas is that there is the self within, at the heart, at the root, at the core of our personality, and it's covered by 5 koshas. Koshas mean sheets. These sheets are in order of subtlety. First one, the outermost one, is Annamaya Kosha, the food sheet, which is. Wait, why am I doing this? Everyone can do one kosha. All the rest of y'all did not raise your hands. And so you know it. So everyone, please give us one kosha. Momita, Annamaya kosha.
It is the food sheet, and it represents the body, the gross body.
Why is it called the food sheet?
Because the body is maintained by food.
Okay. It is created by food, maintained by food, and ends up as food. So its whole cycle is food. Therefore, the gross body is referred to as Annamaya kosha. Right. Kalyan, which is the next kosha. Put your video on. What can I do?
It's
Pranamaya Kosha.
Pranamaya Kosha. It talks about the vital air sheath, which keeps the body in and maintains the body, and also it is a conduit to the next, which is the Manomaya Kosha.
Very good. Mahesh, what are the Pancha Pranas? You're muted, Mahesh.
I don't know them all, but I don't recall them all, but there's Prana, Apana, Dhyana, Udana, and
Samana.
Blood circulation.
Very good. So, Milind, explain these 5.
Prana is perception. Apana is creation. Samana, digestion. Vyana is circulation. And last is Udana. It is absorption power.
Thought absorption.
Thought absorption.
So wait, you said prana is perception, correct? It is the breathing in. Apana is what?
Excretion.
Yeah, taking out.
Excretion.
Very good. Right? And then there's blood circulation, digestion, and thought absorption. Very good. Then what these 5 are part of the pranamaya kosha.
Right.
Then next kosha comes which one? Who's left? Bhavna. Next kosha is?
Maya kosha,
Very good.
mental, which is our mental shape.
Very good. Say something about it.
This is like this is our psychological body and all the activities that goes in the mind.
Very good. All the activities of the mind.
Mind.
Correct. Very good. So, Chanchal, are you with us so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Prashant, do you know the first 3 koshas which we have spoken about?
Yes, ma'am. And we talked about Annamaya Kosha, then Pranamaya Kosha, then Manomaya Kosha.
Very good. Do you know the next one?
Vijnanamaya Kosha.
Very good. What is it?
It's wisdom and intellectual things.
Very good. It is the intellect. We don't put wisdom here, though I suppose you can, but okay. Yes, that's also fine. Then who's left? Then the Deepa, which is the 5th one. Deepa? What happened to you? Okay, Sardev?
Yeah, that it's the Anandamaya Kosha,
Very good.
which is to do with deep sleep and bliss.
Very good. Vasi.
Sorry, Janki ji, I put my speaker. I forgot to on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I answered in mute.
Okay, fine. So Chanchal, you're with all of us. Number 1 was Annamaya Kosha, food sheath, Pranamaya Kosha, the vital air sheath, Manomaya Kosha, the mental sheath, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, intellectual sheath, and Anandmaya Kosha, the bliss sheath, also known as Vasanas.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
There are 5 sheets. Now, who will tell us? Okay, Deepa, now you can tell us. Why are they called sheets?
Because they cover our self, the Atman.
Okay, but why didn't they just call it a cover? Why a sheath?
Is it because they're entrenched in each other?
No.
Like a sheath and a sword?
No. Shilpa, why is it called a sheath? You're right. You're right, Deepa, insofar as it is a covering, but why is it called a sheath particularly? Shilpa, which Shilpa is this? We have so many Shilpas.
Sorry, it's the Shilpa without a surname. That's me, Shilpa Kumar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Shilpa, why?
So I'm thinking, I'm not sure I have the right answer. I mean, sheath is generally something that protects. So.
But that is cannot be here because it's
Yeah,
not.
because it's yeah.
So why sheath? Minnie, from many years ago, do you remember why sheath?
Ma'am, I also felt the same thing, that it's called a sheath because it's protecting the soul.
But
within.
why should it protect the soul? The soul protects us. We don't protect the soul. God protects us, or we protect God?
God protects.
So it can't be protection. Who's left? Joyce. We haven't asked you anything. Why is it called a sheath?
I'm not sure, but perhaps because a sheath is something that encloses something else, not necessarily to protect or cover, but just to it's a layer within a layer within a layer.
What has happened to everybody? We've done this multiple times.
But it's not, yeah, sorry.
No contact. Sheath
Yeah.
means no contact.
What were you going to say, Kalyan?
Same thing.
Okay.
It covers, but the self is untouched by the layers.
Wonderful. Very good. So great. So what is a sheath? Everybody knows a sheath is what covers a knife or a sword or something like that. So why did they use this particular word? Because there is no contact. If the knife or the sword touches the sheath, it will go blunt, right? So a very important characteristic of a sheath is that it doesn't touch what it is covering. So though these layers are supposedly covering the self, they are unable to touch it. There's no contact between them. So that's why we use the word sheath. So, Chanchal, you're clear about the Panchakoshas and why they are called.
Yes, ma'am. Good. Thank you.
Right. So now,
Sankiti,
yeah.
no contact as in it doesn't impact the self, right?
Yeah. No contact, whatever. No contact between them.
But don't we say that the BMI and the self create the human being? So
Yes. No contact in the sense that, okay, let's put it this way. There is no contact between the rope and the snake because there is no snake over there. So what contact will it be? But still we say that the rope is the cause of the snake because unless it is there, how will you see the snake in the first place? So that's what the problem is here. You cannot claim that there's a contact between the snake and the rope, right? But you can still say that it is the rope that enables the snake. Means unless the rope was there, the snake wouldn't be there. Okay.
I'm seeing a snake now.
Mhm.
I'll have to think about it.
Okay. You see, everything in Vedanta, any question you ask, can go all the way back to the self, unfortunately. So we have to say where we are going to cut the discussion. Now, the depth of this knowledge is so much that the more you sort of dig into it, the more you will find. People say things like, oh, Vedanta, yes, I've studied it. It's like, really? If you even think so, what really have you studied? How much? What an ocean there is for us to dig into. So, like, even these verses, I mean, we've been through this chapter relatively quickly. I mean, you will say, I know it took a long time, but it takes time to understand one of the most difficult chapters. And now, in this difficult chapter, we are going to enter the most difficult part. And you have to very carefully go through it to understand what he's referring to. It is one of the most famous chapters. If anybody knows the Gita, this is the one they sort of memorize. And also one of the most misunderstood chapters because he seems to be saying something that he obviously is not saying. If you understand the philosophy, you recognize that he's not saying that at all. So very carefully we will go through these next few verses because it takes a bit of study to understand what he is talking about. So verse 16. Dvavimau purushau loke Sharakshakshara eva cha Kshara sarvani bhutani कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते द्वौ इमे लोकाः purusha, द्वौ पुरुषौ. There are two purushas. Purushas now don't understand that as a man. They're two beings or they're two entities. We understand it as an entity. A purusha is an entity. There are two purushas, loke in this world, kshara and akshara. Two purushas. Two entities, the perishable and the imperishable. Kshara sarvani bhutani. The perishable is all beings. Utastha akshara uchyate. The imperishable is the immutable. Utastha. Uta is that, it means completely fixed, unmovable, unshaken. It's like it's an anvil. Kuta means an anvil. Staha means like steady. Kuta iva staha. Steady as that anvil. You see, when the blacksmith, he makes things, keeps it on that anvil and then shapes whatever it is he's shaping. The things he's making, all those change and differ, but that which is the basis, it stays ever the same. That never changes. It remains unchanged. That's what he's saying. Now, on the face of it, it seems okay, got it. What was so difficult? There is a shara, that means the perishable, and there is an akshara. We know that. Big deal. Okay, body, mind, intellect, shara, atman, akshara, imperishable. Seems simple enough, no? Now the question in front of us is, would you like to go with the verses or shall I explain it to you? And then we do the verses. It would be easier, I think, if it was first explained and then we did the verses. What do you think?
First explain.
First explain, yeah. Okay, so now we can read the next verse so that you will know where the problem arises. Okay, this is on the face of it quite clear, right? There is the shara, there is akshara, there is the perishable, there is the imperishable. The imperishable is non-changing. This much is relatively clear. Now the problem arises in verse 17. Uttama purushastvanyah paramatmetyudahrutaha yo lokatrayamavishya bibhartya vyava ishwaraha. Uttama purushastvanyah paramatmetyudahrutaha yo lokatrayamavishya bibhartya vyaya ishwaraha. Uttama purusha tu anyaha. You know enough Sanskrit to understand this. So what did he tell us in the previous verse? There is a shara, the perishable. There is an akshara, the imperishable. Uttama purusha tu anyaha. The highest being is different. And he's stressing tu. The Uttama Purusha, the highest being, the highest entity, is different. Paramatma iti udharutaha. It is called the Paramatma. So Paramatma is different, he says, from the Kshara and the Akshara, from the perishable and the imperishable. Yo lokatraya avishya. Yaha lokatraya avishya. Who has pervaded, who has been everywhere in the three lokas. Bibharti. Bibharti means who is, जो भरता है, who sustains. Ishvara. That Lord who sustains and pervades the three worlds is different from the Shara and the Akshara. And here's where you have a problem. What's the problem you have over here?
Different as in what way?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
The problem, I mean, you mentioned it's different. Different as in what way?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Problem is, he says in the previous verse, he is the imperishable. Now he says he is not, he's beyond imperishable also.
Yes, correct. So far we've learned this, right? We've learned that there is the perishable, that means our body, mind, intellect. And we've learned that there is a Lord, he is the imperishable. So dvau ime loka, in this world, there are two beings. There is the body, mind, intellect, that means matter, and there is spirit. Now in this chapter, he has thrown us a googly. He is saying now, there's a third being. I think where did third being come from? Mahesh will say, first you said there were two, now you're saying there are three. Yesterday's class we said there was Vasana, thought, desire, action, then we added Purushartha, then we said Purusha, Vasana, thought. Every day you're adding something new. I think, Baba, we're not adding anything new. These texts have been coming down for thousands and thousands of years. And the philosophy explains what these means. Otherwise, impossible. Suddenly in the Bhagavad Gita, you added one more entity. How can you add one more entity like that? You can't just on your women fancy add whatever you want. But what he's trying to communicate is exactly what you said before, except that every teacher says something because we have misunderstood something. So they add another layer, say, just to say not this. Don't all of y'all hold your heads like that. It's not so bad. Everyone is looking like, oh my God, now what? It's very easy. Conceptually, it's very easy. It's just that we tend to misunderstand the sages. So they tend to explain a little more. So earlier we've understood Dvav ime loka ka purushaha. In this world, there are two purushas, two entities, the Shara and the Akshara. So what is it? There is a body, mind, intellect. This body, mind, intellect is supported by the Atman. But when you start hearing about this, you say, okay, there is a universe that has matter. This matter is supported by Brahman. Right? Everyone is clear up to this point, right? But when you hear this, what is your concept of God? Your concept of God is there is a universe and the Lord, the self, God, whatever you wish to call it, is what is behind the universe or the base or the foundation of this universe. This is conceptually incorrect. Think about it. Suppose there are a few examples we can take to understand the concept. Example 1. Suppose you are in New York, okay, on the 42nd floor or some horrible floor like that. In a high-rise building, you have gone to visit that family. There is a young 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old girl, small little child there. Boy, girl, whatever you want, there is a child there. And that child says to you, auntie or uncle, as the case may be, what is clay? What is mud? What is clay? Now you're on the 42nd floor. How are you going to explain what is clay? So you look around and you see 3 pots. Red, blue, green. And you say, see those pots? They're all clay. So the girl looks at those pots and says, oh, blue, green, yellow is clay. I said, no. That is not clay. That is just the nama rupa. That is just the form and color. That has got nothing to do with the clay. Child doesn't understand. So you take those 3 pots and you break it. And you say, see this, what it is made up of. That is clay. This clay can be made into millions of things. Can be made into these various pots or anything else. But this substance of which it is made is clay. So the child says, oh, I understand now. But you know that the child has not understood. Because if the child goes down or comes to India and somebody asks her, what is clay? What will the child say? Come to my house in New York and I will show you clay. So the child hasn't understood, even though it thinks it has. So you tell the child that no, what you think you've understood is not clay. In India, you come, you will find it everywhere. It's not restricted to those 3 pots. Now take it back to our example. The nama rupa that you and I experience, when the sages say that all this is God, we look at the nama rupa and we say, oh, this idol is God. This Tirath Stan is God. Mecca, Medina is God. So they said, no. That is not God. That which is the basis of these things, that is God. That foundation. You say, I understand. So everything in this world is God, but that which is the basis of everything is God. That's what you said, right? Teacher says, yeah, that's what I said. So whole universe, everything, all the planets and the stars and the galaxies, the table in front of me, the sofa, the curtains, all of this has a substratum called God. That's correct? Correct? Yes or no? Right. To which your teacher will tell you, yes, correct, but not completely correct. Because now you have restricted your concept of God to being the substratum of the universe. God is not merely the substratum of the universe. The universe is a dot in Brahman. You are assuming a dot to be the whole. No. Wherever there is the universe, God is there. God also exists where the universe doesn't. The universe doesn't define God. You can't look at the universe and say, oh, God is here. No. All of this is nothing compared to the glory of Brahman. Take another example. Imagine you are with a traveler in a desert and the traveler can only see the mirage. Only the mirage. So when you're looking at the mirage, he asks you, you're in the desert, you're looking at the mirage, and the traveler with you asks, where is the desert? He's seeing only the mirage. You have to cooperate with the example. He's seeing only the mirage. You're in the desert. He's seeing the mirage. He says, where's the desert? To which you point to the mirage, because that's all he's seeing. So that's the desert. So he says, oh, is water desert? No. Water's qualities are completely different from the desert. Desert is dry sand. Water is wet liquid. So it's completely different. That which is the basis of this mirage you're seeing, which is the foundation, the sustenance of the mirage you're seeing, that is the desert. He says, okay, I see it. But then he has misunderstood the desert to be
God.
Mirage.
only where the mirage is. Right? So similarly, we understand God to be only where the universe is. This is a wrong concept. So he's not changing the basic idea that there is self and there is matter. He's not changing that. He's only removing our misunderstanding because we have restricted God. So he says it is beyond. It's beyond what your conception is. It's beyond. It exceeds anything that you can conceive. That's why he posits a third entity. Another way of looking at the same idea is when you say that there is the Kshara and there is an Akshara, you are dealing with the pairs of opposites. Pairs of opposites is equal to
World.
world. Very good. The Lord is beyond the pairs of opposites. That is another way of looking at it. Yes, Bharat?
Yeah, it will be technically wrong to say that God is where universe is because you would be limiting its all pervasiveness, right?
You will be limiting its extent because all pervasive means pervading everything. So everything we know is the universe. So it has to be beyond all pervading. So you can say you're limiting its existence.
Okay.
In an earlier interpretation of a similar idea, I don't remember where we had come across it, but we had talked of this imperishable as the vasanas. Is that also an interpretation, or that's? I don't recall where it was talked of earlier, but this first imperishable was referred to as vasana.
You could not here. We had discussed that in chapter 9, but here we are talking about very, very clearly about the self, because read the word. Shara sarvani bhutani, all the beings are shara, perishable. Kutastha stokshara uchyate. The akshara is said to be kutaha, kutastaha. Kutastaha is always used for the self because it's the absolute unchanging. So if you want, you can probably say that I suppose that's an acceptable sort of interpretation, that you take the second being as vasanas, and then you sort it out by saying that there is gross body, subtle body, plus vasanas, plus self, and therefore there are three. You could simplify matters like that, I suppose.
And I don't know why he is referred to the perishable as another Purusha. He should have just said Prakriti. Why is he confusing? I mean, Prakriti Purusha, we have a couple of, now he's made both Purusha.
Because the thing is, in philosophy, people get to the words, but not to the essence. The Shabdartha takes predominance over the Bhavartha. So, therefore, throughout the text, you see that he keeps changing the words for everything so that you get to the spirit of it. It is a way he enforces reflection. Otherwise, we get very sort of to learn philosophy, you have to learn to think. To learn to think, you have to discipline that thinking. But to move from disciplined thinking back to what should I say? Getting to the spirit of it. You see, the steps in growth. If you try to get the spirit before you get the discipline, you get superstition. If you get the discipline without getting to the spirit, then you get to be a philosophy professor. You know all the words that everybody says and all the logic that they have, but don't quite get the essence. So in Indian tradition, you must be familiar, for every whatever is said, there are three meanings. What the word says, what it means, and the hidden meaning. You're familiar with that, right? There are three meanings to everything.
Yeah, I believe I've come across that, but I don't recall now exactly. Mimamsikas talk a lot about it.
You do appreciate that we are also Mimamsikas.
Okay, I'll say Purva Mimamsikas.
Okay. So Vasanas are not imperishable though. Yes, Momita, that is the objection to this theory. And therefore, though it's acceptable, we don't go with it. We go with this subtler version, which is that he's just breaking our hardened concept of how this universe is God, and therefore the God is restricted to the universe. God is well beyond it. So what Mahesh is saying is right. You can take that interpretation, but then we will run into all these problems. They are not really imperishable. Why using the word kutastaha? Because kutastha is always used for the self. It expresses that upon which every change takes place. So it seems to contradict this idea of vasanas, though, of course, anybody can explain anything away.
But how are vasanas in any sense imperishable?
In the relative sense, compared to everything we know, I mean, the changes that you see in this material world as we understand the term material, vasanas are more stable. It's not so easy to change them. Even from one life to another, you will have a different body, mind, intellect, but one life to another, you will have the same vasanas.
But we do, the whole path, spiritual path is to remove the vasanas, to reduce the vasanas.
True, but what is the percentage of anyone achieving that or even trying that?
But we cannot call them, but they are perishable. That is why we work on them.
Yes, but relatively imperishable. Compared to everything else, they are more imperishable. See, suppose you want to take examples. Now, if you want to change your body, suppose you have become 100 kgs, you want to become 50 kgs. So it will take you a year, 2 years, whatever it takes for a person to do that. Right? So year, 2 years will change it. Vasanas won't change like that. Vasanas will take time. How much time now? Ram Bharose. So it's relatively imperishable. That is why some philosophers use that as this argument. But we don't use it because of what you're saying, that though relatively imperishable, it does change. Okay, so how are we doing with this? Is it sort of clear? We'll do this example one more time.
Yes. Not clear.
All right. So let's, in any particular part not clear, or I'll run through it. It takes time to digest this. But if there's any particular thing that's not clear, we can take that. Otherwise, I'll do it again fully.
Janki ji?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Kalyan.
No, that Akshara is restricted to what we know of Kshara, in the sense, so when we say that it extends beyond, we are not able to visualize.
Correct. Yes, Sadeh?
Janki ji, this higher Purusha, you said we call it Atman. But Atman and Brahman are synonymous. So what is higher than Brahman? Brahman is a little confusing.
Okay, so let's just do both the examples again. There is a girl. She lives on the 42nd story of a high rise in New York. She asks you, what is clay? So you point out to her 3 pots in her house and tell her that's clay. To which she says, okay, I get it. But you know she hasn't got it. So you say, no. What you're seeing is not clay. That which is the basis, the sustenance of that which in the clay never changes, in those pots which never changes, that is clay. What do you mean? So you break those pots. Say, see this is the material by which these clays are made. Then what happens is, though she's understood what is clay in some sense, her comprehension of clay is restricted to that material which is there in her house in New York. So then you tell her that clay is not just this, which was the basis of that pot. But if you come to India, all over the country, you will find clay. Right? So when the sages tell us all this is God, our first understanding is what I see is God. What I hear is God. That's not correct. What is the basis, the foundation, the sustenance of what you see and hear? That is God. So slowly you begin to realize that everything behind this is God. But then we get stuck in another misunderstanding, which is that wherever I see something, God is there. No, God cannot be restricted to the universe. God exists far beyond the universe. Just like the clay in the pots is not the only clay. It exists far beyond those pots. Or the mirage in the desert. First, when you ask what is the desert, you say that the mirage you're seeing, that's the desert. Then is the water the desert? No. That which sustains it, that which holds it, what is the foundation, that is the desert. And then since you're seeing only the mirage, you think only the foundation of that particular mirage is the desert. Only the mud, the sand under that is the desert. He says, no. Desert exists far beyond. Where you're not seeing a mirage, that is also the desert. So, in the other way of saying it is that the universe is like a drop in Brahman. So, first you think the universe is God. Then you think that part of Brahman which is sustaining the universe is Brahman. So he's trying to tell you, no, Brahman exists far beyond the universe. So Atman and Brahman is the same. When you refer to it within the individual, you call it Atman. When you refer to it outside, you call it Brahman. And now he's introduced another term for it. And he says that Paramatma extends far beyond all of that. Yes, Bharat?
Sankiji, can I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this concept of existing here and beyond can also be understood by the dream world and Baker's mind example. All of the dream world is the Baker's mind, but Baker's mind is not limited to the dream world.
Very good. Yes, we can.
The third step is only a leap of faith. In the
Why?
sense, I know clay exists on Earth, but you are telling me to visualize that clay is everywhere in Mars, in Jupiter, beyond all that. So, which I don't know. Till the second step, when you say clay is there on New York versus India or on this planet, because I know of clay exists. But now you're telling me to think that Brahman or Atman exists beyond this also. So that is why I'm saying it's a leap of faith.
But that Atman exists even within you is also a leap of faith.
Correct. Yeah.
So leap of faith starts at level 2 only, not at level 3.
Yeah.
Okay, Prakash's iPhone regarding Vasna issue. Okay, so Mahesh said we can also interpret the two first Purushas as the body, mind, intellect, and then Vasanas. So, or subtle body, and then causal body, and then self, which is also which is also a possible one, but we don't use that one because we are using this one. This one is a much more subtler way. Okay, just think about it. We'll do it again next time because it's a little bit of a struggle anyway, since it's a new concept. So we'll do it next time. Okay, so that's it for this time. Hari Om. I don't know whether we have any news to give everybody, but I don't think we have anything in particular, right? Jayashri? Okay.